Now, I'm not sure if it's the pie and ice cream that brought him here or if it's our guest speaker. So, we'll turn this over to him in just a little bit, but I do have just a couple things I want to go over with you. Most of you have a copy of the agenda for this evening, and you can see what our financial condition is. I will mention that our investments are up a little from the previous month, but we're still down several $1,000s from the last year. The stock market has not been good to us this year. So hopefully, when they solve the inflation problem and the gasoline and everything else, that'll go back up for us. We held our ice cream social yesterday, and when Mother Nature's against you like they were us yesterday,
Sunday.
and then they canceled the Ohio State alumni band. They didn't come out at all, and as a result of that, we didn't do real well. Most of you have a copy of the income and expense report, but I'll go over it real quick for you for the ones that do not have that. We sold a total of $233 worth of pie and ice cream. We sold one T-shirt, and we had cash donations of $44 for a total income of $287. Our pies at Der Dutchman cost us $136.57. GFS, our serving utensils, were $91. We'll have a lot of that left over for future use. So we only made about $59. I want to mention a couple of other miscellaneous donations that we had. Mr. Baldridge was kind enough to donate 4 pies. Der Dutchman did donate 4 pies, and he gave us a small discount on the others that we had to pay for. Johnny Miller from Miller's Old Fashioned Ice Cream donated 2 tubs of ice cream, and I donated 1. So overall, we made about $59.14. That's better than losing. Membership hasn't changed much. We lost one of our continuous members, but he became a life member, so that's a good thing. Our Christmas sale, I want to mention that again. We're going to have our Christmas sale as we did the last few, well, not the last couple of years, but prior to that, from December 1st to the 17th. We will not have a meeting on December 27th. We never have a meeting in December. So we will be closing December 17th and reopen January 3rd. Can you guys hear me back over there?
Barely.
Yep. Okay. Our cemetery tour. We had originally scheduled that for September 25th. Something has come up, so we had to change the date for that. That will be October the 2nd. And Janet Kaufman made a good suggestion about that this evening. She thought we ought to maybe get Steve Balding's wife to come back over. You know, he's a real Civil War buff, and have him just kind of walk around strolling with his guitar, singing some Civil War music. So that might work out for us too. Still working on the 40th anniversary cookbook. Any of you that have old family recipes or favorite recipes, send those in to me. You can just send them into the mailbox. You can email them, whatever you want to do with them. Just bring them in so we can get this cookbook put together. That's always a pretty good money maker. And I hope to do a deck of souvenir playing cards using Plain City athletes. Now I'm waiting to hear back from the company that prints those. They have a procedure that they follow, and you have to do what they want you to do, but it's a good money maker, so we'll get that going again. Our minutes, most of you have a copy of the minutes. If anybody back there would like to share the minutes with someone that doesn't have a copy, give it to them and look those over real quick. I saw a couple things that we need to change there. Let me find my copy. Janet, in the paragraph about where we discussed the cemetery tour, and it says we're having copy source, and Mary's going to make 500 copies of something. I don't know what that is. They're not making anything for the cemetery tour.
Okay.
I do the posters for that, and I also print the tickets, so
okay.
I'll be doing that.
That's not how that got my notes.
Maybe that had to do with the cookbooks.
Excuse me.
I did mention that we're gonna probably have copies so to do the cookbooks.
Whoops.
And I think that's the only corrections that need to be made. Is any of the rest of you see a correction that needs to be made in the minutes? If not, we'll approve those as they have been corrected.
Oh, darn.
Okay, let's get this program going. Rayce, I'm sure everybody is very anxious to hear you and see what you've got to show us. So, if you want to, for those of you who don't know Rayce Robinson grew up in Plain City, graduated from Johnson Order, did you not, Rayce? What year?
2004.
2004. He played Little League ball with my son George and a few of the other guys around town. You want to tell them anything else about yourself, Rayce, and then just go into your program?
Yeah, sure. So number one, I legitimately had no idea this many people were going to be here today. I usually, frankly, I usually don't do a lot in public. Just kind of work behind the scenes and try to do good things and that kind of stuff. So to see 60 plus people here today just to see what we're doing in town's pretty cool. So thanks for the invite. So again, my name is Rayce Robinson. I'm from Plain City, born and raised here. My family kind of migrated here in the mid 80s when a family business came to Columbus. So these are my roots. My wife is also from Plain City. Her name's Haley Faust is her maiden name. She's part of the Faust family crew and the Converse family that's from around here. So we have really deep roots to this community and really excited about what the future looks like. So growing up as a kid, you know, you drive through town, you see all the history, you see the good work that others do, and you know, as you get older, you start to realize that somebody else and the next group of people have to do some exciting things. You just never realize it's going to be you or you have that interest until something just hits you in the gut internally, right? And so I'm really excited about what the future state of Plain City looks like, and have been fortunate to you know, have good tidings and good business things, and just, you know, anything that gives me the opportunity to step outside my box and be a part of that future. So I'm really looking forward to what that looks like. And a big piece of this is really partnering with others that are from town. We have Chris Miller is up here as well. He's a Plain City resident, formerly from Western Ohio, but has been here for more than 15 years. And other people like that who are excited about the future of Plain City as well. So as we go through just some of these projects, I don't have a lot of slides. I'll talk a little bit about each project, but I want you to know as we do these, one of my biggest goals is to incorporate as much and as many of the local contractors in these projects, because if you're really about building community, there's no other way to do that than to do it with those people that live and want to be here and are from here traditionally, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge piece of what I'm trying to do on these projects and what we're trying to do on these projects, and we hope that that really lends to a fantastic future. And so we're leaning on a lot of guys like Eric Medici and Tim Dawson and some others, Mark Troyer, I love Mark Troyer, to really help guide us in some of our what we can and can't do's, really, and trying to learn from the good and the bad that happens, you know, in the business world and some of this rehab type stuff. So any questions about just who I am or what I'm trying to do at all before I dive in? Like I said, I didn't think that I would be standing up here in front of 60 people, so touche. I do see some familiar faces though, so appreciate you coming. So I am a part owner in an entity called the West Element, and I'm also a third owner in the FMC Investments portfolio, which is also with Chris Miller and another gentleman named Chris Kerr. So collectively, these projects so far are between those two entities that I'm just proud to be a part of, right? So it takes a village. So we'll dive in first. So the first project, which is right back over here, is the old fire station and the Bigelow House, I believe, that's on the corner, right? Allen House, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rosemary smacked me.
Yeah.
The old Allen House. So we bought this property from the village about a year ago. It went into a silent bid package and kind of got excited about wanting that first piece of the historical puzzle of Plain City. So we bought this property with the idea in mind that companies aren't bringing people back to the offices, right? People are working from home more. These co-working spaces are starting to thrive where you're building community on a more micro level and trying to be more collaborative and innovative and those kinds of things. So we have this grand idea in mind, and we've embarked upon this project, and what's really been neat is learning the history of the buildings deeper, specifically the old schoolhouse / fire station. We've had great support from Rosemary and Bernie and the team to help give us some documents and those kinds of things. So I threw up some historical pictures. What you see here is really previous state when it was the firehouse. The top center pictures where we started tearing out a lot of the old plaster and drywall in the main village conference room and exposing a lot of this historic brick that's been hidden for decades, which has been pretty awesome. So when we did that, we found some really neat, your projector's not showing good color by the way, Bernie, but we found some really neat hidden gems. One, you'll notice up here in this corner was a hidden door that nobody knew was there for the longest time, which was pretty neat. And then also right next to this other door was the old jail cell bars from when it was the jail on the northeast corner of the building. So when we come across those kinds of things, we want to preserve that history and expose that and incorporate that into the design of our project, right? We don't want to forget those cool, unique pieces. We want to share that and show it and make it a big integral part of the project. So we also found a really cool mail express box that was hidden up in the attic space, where actually the original windows from the second story from back in the early 1900s are also still stored. So we're keeping kind of some of that history up there. We don't really have plans for those windows, so we want to, have it live where it belongs, right, and where it's been for decades. But I did pull that box down. We plan on incorporating that into some cool, unique design and things of that nature. This bottom right-hand picture I think is really awesome. In this corner of this main portion of the building, there's an old chimney. And behind that chimney was an old chalkboard from when it was the school. And what was on the chalkboard was not drawings from the students, but it's actually carvings from some of the jail cell inmates. So, yeah, pretty cool. So right here, it's really hard to see, and we can go back later on, but there's a carving that says the VA kid, so we don't really know who that is. I would love to try to find some of the old names. Byron Lewis. When we took most of the plaster off the wall, only half of this was exposed. And that half was right here where this face kind of lives. So it was a unique side profile carving of a girl, and it had the date 1922, or 1921 rather. So I saw that and I'm like, holy cow, this thing's been buried for 100 years. It's pretty amazing. Let's not take that off the building. So what's really neat about that is on this wall we're going to have a big kitchen area and stuff like that, just like the village had. But we're going to put plexiglass over top of that so that we can incorporate that history into that new space. So this was really cool when we took the chimney down, and we were curious what else was there, and we did. It was totally surprising and really exciting at the same time. So a lot of fun things happening in this space from a historical perspective, and then this is where it's going. Okay, so what you see up here is a future state. Don't have a heart attack. We are connecting the two buildings, but we're preserving the history of the two as their own entities. So what you see up here in the top left is the traditional Allen house. There's 6 private offices in there. There are 2 ADA bathrooms in this new connector because we need to modernize the buildings to accommodate ADA patients, elderly patients, patients of size, anybody that has disabilities needs to be able to access that building for the long term, right? And then there are 5 individual offices across the face of that building as well. So there's 11 between those 2 pieces. And then over here, and it's really hard to see because the bulb in the projector, but this front space where the village meeting room was, the chambers I guess, is the collaboration area. So when you first come to the facility, you'll come in and grab your coffee. There will be a big island. There will be cool little chairs around the outside, and that's where we would expect people just to converse and talk about the day or whatever, collaborate on a project, etc. And then there's more spaces behind that are huddle rooms, kind of lounges where you can sit down and work on your computer and talk to people going by and that kind of stuff. So really excited about the environment that will be instilled in that new project and bringing people back to the historical space. So lastly, and I cropped out the back bay, but this entire middle bay here is actually going to be a big conference room, a big meeting space where we'll have companies like Honda, Cardinal Health, whoever, Worthington Industries will come to Plain City, have a corporate meeting in that space, and be able to walk to the restaurants and the stores and things downtown and really pull people to Plain City in a really cool, unique environment. So I'm incredibly excited about what the future of this space looks like and the types of activities that'll be happening in that space. So, and lastly, you'll notice right here we are replacing that main garage door where the trucks used to drive up, and our anticipation is that we're going to leave that door open quite a bit, so that if two moms are walking down the street grabbing coffee from Rocky Mountain Coffee Co. or whoever, they'll be able to come in and hang out in that space without membership, you know, have a good time for a few minutes, let their kids play, do whatever, and kind of use it as a true community type space if you want to pop in, right? So we've got a lot of people walking up and down Chillicothe now, and so if they have a cool space they can walk into real quick and just hang out for 15 minutes, you know, we want to provide that type of environment and atmosphere. So this project's the first, obviously, so I'm really excited about that. If you've been down the street, you've seen progress recently. We hope to have that connector framed up and under roof by the end of this week, potentially, with Mark Troyer. And then I highlighted, and again, wish it was a little more vivid, but some of the contractors that we're using on the project. So RT Yoder Electric, Historic Masonry is the gentleman that's been doing all the tuck pointing and doing an absolutely amazing job on that place. His work is incredible. He's not cheap, but he does it right, and that's what matters. Then we have Faust Plumbing and Heating, 9 Trees Landscaping. Jack D. Walters is our architect. And then on the very bottom it says financed by Richwood Bank. So again, trying to keep as much as we possibly can local anytime that we can, and you'll see that theme throughout the rest of these projects in Plain City. So that's 213 South Chillicothe. Any questions about that at all? I'd be happy to go ahead.
Yes, when you're working on these buildings, did you ever run into any asbestos?
Well, no, we have not so far.
That's
nope.
good.
Yep. So this building in particular we haven't, and neither have the building across the street. I think most of the materials were from before asbestos was even introduced. Yeah, so it's been like horsehair and stuff like that more than anything. It's a good question.
You might want to mention about the minutes that you found, the book of the minutes, city council from what was it, 1850s and 60s?
Karen found that.
Yeah, I didn't
Oh,
find
Karen.
that.
Oh, okay.
I would
But
like
it
to
was-
see
yeah,
that
it
though.
was
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'll gladly
Well,
take a copy of that.
It's right there, that gray box on the table right in front
Okay.
of you.
Okay. Right.
That, yeah, they're in there.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Karen. I would have liked to have known that.
Now you want some back.
Yeah, well, we did find some other cool stuff though to that point with like bills and receipts from the fire department to individuals and things like that for pulling rats out of sewers and all sorts of random things from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, which was pretty cool. So some of that didn't go anywhere in particular. I kept a ton of it, so maybe we can do some cool like decor with those and kind of showcase that kind of stuff throughout the project. But
Would you verify for everyone that you did not find my name on that blackboard?
there was no, it says Byron Lewis, but I don't know what your full initials are. There was yeah, April 21st, 1921 is the date on that, which is pretty cool. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was just wondering about parking,
Yeah.
if you're gonna have a big conference center.
Yeah, so right now we have 13 spots that are right in the back. That's a really great question. Out front today there's a big grass space between the road and the sidewalk. We're actually going to take the grass space out and add 7 parallel parking spots right there in the short term. And then the village still owns the gravel parking lot behind that is at the base of the water tower, and I think they have plans to enhance that space also at some point in time. I can't comment on those like particulars because I don't know, but we've been talking about, you know, that exact thing, right? It's definitely needed, and I think that's global beyond just what we need for the project. And these projects in the short term, we've needed parking for a long time, right? So, but we're trying to address that in the things that we can control, right? So,
Maybe
good.
you mentioned it, but what was the date of the oldest part of that building? When was it constructed?
I don't know that actually. I mean, it was in the 1800s when it was a school first, and it was actually a. This right here is what was left over. There was actually a second story that had 14-foot tall ceilings as well on top of that structure that was taken down and a new roof put on, what's there today. And so when we climbed up in a manhole above the fire bay, and you go up to the old second floor, the original oak hardwoods are still up there, which is pretty cool. But we can't really do anything with them for our value, just a lot of stuff that we don't want to remove that necessarily.
The building was from, I think it was 1876 was when it was built as a school. And we have pictures of it as a two-story school. It was, the second story was taken off in 1927 or 29, I forget. And the Allen House, the old water office, that is one of the two oldest houses in town. It was built in 1842-43 by a man named William Allen. It was the family home. The other house that's involved is further down on Chillicothe Street. It was Daniel Bigelow's house. He was a brother of Isaac. He was a doctor, and he came here in 1832 and died in 1850. So the house was built sometime during that span, but we don't know exactly when.
Yeah, actually, my good friend Bill McCartney outbid me on that thing, so I was going to move my mom in there, actually. Would have kind of been cool. But really cool stuff. I think that might have been taken and turned into a police station and fire station in like 1912, because that chalkboard is 1921. We can look back at the history of that. Not to, like, you know, we don't need to figure that out,
When
right?
did they build?
Early 1990s.
No, it was 1890s was when they built the school on the first school on West Main.
Okay.
And it was shortly after that that the city
Okay.
bought that building.
Okay. Very cool. So any other questions about this project at all? If you know J.L. Minshall, does anybody know J.L. Minshall by chance? I think he grew up in the Allen House, for crying out loud, in like the 60s and 70s. So who knows what else I'll find in that place. But I love JL. But there's actually a couple hidden doorways in there and things like that that we've uncovered also, from the kitchen to an old office, or where the staircase is in that house, and where I think the water billing department was sitting in that room. So a lot of cool stuff. Good.
Find the original door to the house, at least what I know was in the basement.
Yes, so we have that right now, and Mark Troyer has that, and we're trying to just make sure it's in good condition to restore it, and we're going to put it back on.
Yeah, that's
It's a
one
good
thing
call.
I made sure when we had to put that other
Yeah.
door up, that door be put in the basement.
Yeah, we're actually considering taking the new door off of the exterior so you can see it better, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, no other questions. We'll move on across the street. So 114 West Main, that's the McCune Building, also previously owned by John Houchard. I was hoping John would be here tonight somehow. I love that guy. He's ornery, and we're thankful for John because he's given us an opportunity to try to resurrect, you know, a pretty big piece of Plain City history. So Rosemary, I don't know if you can confirm it. Is that the first real multi-story commercial property that was built in Plain City in 1869?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest,
Yeah.
certainly,
There's
at
a
that point.
there's an aerial picture that shows that intersection. It's the only thing on
Yeah,
that intersection.
the oldest
so
picture that we have of downtown Plain City was 1875, and that is the only building that's in that picture that's still here today.
yeah. So a lot of great history. This is what it looked like a long time ago, right? And so you'll see here in a minute, you know, that we're going to try to take it back to that time period as best we can within code and things like that. So there's been a lot of history with meat markets and grocery stores and the post office. And one of my favorites, just because it's personal, is that when the corner was converted from the post office to the bank, my wife's great-great-grandfather, I believe, was actually the gentleman that ran that bank in there a long time ago. His last name was Converse, right? And so it was really fun now partnering with Chris and Chris to purchase the building and be able to pour some kind of emotional aspect into that building too. So really excited about that. So up here were just some old pictures of the inside that we've been given by the Historical Society, and then some current states that you'll see. So the picture on the left, or the center here, is actually a picture of the entire third floor. It's all open for the most part, with an old stage that was put in after the fact. And then down here on the far right is where the New Life Baptist Church has been recently, and if you look directly across the street, you'll see it's completely gutted, and all this old wood paneling is gone, and the brick is exposed, and the same mason that's been working on the firehouse is now working on that building, pouring his best efforts and heart into that project as well. And so he's got a lot of work to do on that building, because the front face of that building needs a lot of attention, right? So we're giving it that attention and doing what's right for the historical preservation of that particular structure. So on this journey though, we've uncovered some neat things. Some of the old floor joists are just in incredible shape, so we're going to try to keep those exposed and do some things that are really neat with that. Up in the ceiling, we've actually found some old wine bottle boxes that were broken apart and used to keep up some tin ceilings and stuff. So I don't know how those 12 bottles were consumed, but somebody consumed them. Probably John Houchard, I don't know.
Or dead.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, you get Frenchie up there. And then the old apartment that's right above Front Porch Home Today on the corner had a drop ceiling in it, had a bunch of drywall that covered up the old windows. You can see this picture was taken yesterday, but these windows are the original windows that basically went all the way to the floor. And so through our construction and whatnot, we've come to realize that the ceiling height in the corner space on the first floor where Front Porch Home is not the original ceiling height. When they dug the corner out to put the bank in, we believe that they actually put in a new floor on the second floor where this apartment is, and that's why the windows go down to floor level, which is kind of common sense. I can't imagine that somebody would have done that from a safety perspective a long time ago. But our engineers and architects have come to that conclusion through a couple other avenues and just research throughout the structure of the building. So at some point that's been a new floor put in there, way before it was Sarah's Corner Kitchen. So, and then you'll notice here too, if you go up, which I don't want you to go up the stairs, but it's the glass door that you walk into the building to go upstairs. If you go up and you turn around, there's been some walls and things put in that's covering up an old window that we're going to re-expose, hang a big chandelier or something like that from it, so as you go down the road you'll see better light into that space and in the hallway and those things. So really, again, trying to uncover the rich history of the building, preserve that, but also modernize it to an extent as well. And this is what the future state will look like. If you've walked down Main Street, you've probably seen the poster in the window. It's the poster on the left. These are all 3 floors and the spaces that those will tentatively look like. And it's really hard to see here again, but in each of these windows you'll still see the Yellowstone kind of Y at the top of each window. That's reflective of this historical picture here. The only thing that we can't do because of code and things like that is the main doors. They used to be 2 double doors. we're a little bit bigger than we used to be, and code makes us do certain things today. So it was more reasonable to put a kind of traditional looking main door in to each of those suite spaces. So I would say that's the biggest maybe change from a historical perspective, besides adding a lobby and an elevator to the building. As we talked about over here, you know, our big goal is to make this building more accessible for people for a really long time. Whether, again, you have some type of disability or accessibility issue, etc., you know, putting an elevator into that space gives us the ability so that anybody that comes to Plain City can access any of those floors, you know, and be able to enjoy the space in the way that we're trying to reconstruct that and preserve that, right? So that's a pretty big enhancement to that building, but it's pretty much primarily going to be hidden in that back corner where there's a single-story lean-to that's not necessarily original to the building anyways. It was put on after the fact. We don't have exact dates for that, but you won't see it from the road. So we're not trying to alter the main structure of that building as much as humanly possible, but we are trying to modernize it to some extent, right? So again, this will have ADA bathrooms on each floor, the elevator, a fire-rated staircase, and we've been collaborating with a lot of people to make sure that it's, you know, safe and the right thing to do. So we're excited about that building as well. So, any questions about 114 West Main? Good.
Is that view from Main Street?
So if you walk out this front door, that's exactly what you'll see.
Okay.
Our windows and doors are actually coming in like the next 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully. The next 30 days, approximately.
And are those apartments? What are those?
No, so first floor is here. So actually, the gal in the corner that has front porch home is actually going to move from the corner over and have a bigger space. So she'll take up both of those center and then the far western suite as her front porch home shop. And then tentatively Gabe the barber from the clock tower is going to move to this corner space.
That's great.
Yep, and we don't necessarily have tenants clearly defined for the second and third floor yet. We have a really good idea for the third floor, but we're not going there yet. We don't feel comfortable delivering that as it is today. So we just have a lot of work to do before we can make that decision. So same thing with the second floor. We have some really good ideas for that, but we still have some time to think about that and make sure that we're doing the right thing and putting the right thing in there, right? So it's a good question. And what other questions?
No, you just answered mine.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
What is the little kick out there on the left? That?
That right there?
Yeah.
So if you look at, this is the second story.
Okay.
Okay. So in the abandoned alley, which we own half of now, right?
Okay.
In order to fit the elevator and the equipment room and a fire-rated staircase, the only way we could do that was to create a little bit of a bump out into that portion of our property.
Okay.
To house the equipment room and a little bit of a lobby. So you'll notice here, this is the face of the building on Main Street. So as you look down the abandoned alley, which is again our property, you'll see this, but it sits way back off of the street side and is about 17 feet long. So we still have about 40 feet from the face of that all the way to the street. So we're trying to replicate, you know, a good-looking entrance that's clearly defined for the elevator and those people that are going upstairs and need that access, but not trying to bring it all the way out to the road and make it match the traditional facade, right, of that space. So it's a good question. Anything else with this particular property? Did I miss anything?
No, I think you can tell them, I think you spoke of it earlier, the main goal is to bring more people downtown. By moving her front porch home over and expanding her space, we're hoping for more retail. You bring Gabe over and hopefully you can add a chair, so more people into, that was the whole goal, was to bring, and you're gonna touch on it with the third project, but to bring more folks downtown.
Yeah.
And to really liven up the spots.
Yeah.
So is retail the goal for second and third floor eventually, or is it?
To be honest, I think our goal for the second floor is office space.
We would love a lawyer or an architect, or we have some insurance
Yeah.
buddies who are talking about coming into that, especially with the elevator.
Right.
Because the elevator brings the mom with the kid in the stroller. Now everybody can get up to the second floor, and you can
Right.
have meetings and whatever. So
Yeah.
that would be ideal. And then some co-hatch space possibly.
How many square feet are we talking about in second and third floor?
Did I crop? I can't read it because it's I forget how many total square feet. Do you remember?
It's like 369 or 27, 28.
It's just under 9,000 total square feet for the whole property, right? Which is
It's a large space.
it's a pretty darn large space as it is.
Lots of walls and a big vault in there too, though. That's
Yeah.
There's some other spots and.
Yeah, that concrete actually where the vault was is 26 inches thick. So I don't think anybody's doing anything with that. And if there's ever a tornado, we'll probably all need to go from there. So, which there was at one point, and this building wasn't touched. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about too is, you know, as we went and did research on this building, it was very apparent that it's in just amazing shape for the most part, besides some exterior walls. It's got some really great bones, and even the roof structure is original and was not taken off in the cyclone back in the
1912.
early part of the 20th century. And they're all hand-hewn oak beams that are all interlocked and stuff up there, so we have videos and pictures of that, and they're just in incredible shape. So we were kind of worried about it, to be honest. We went up there and got kind of excited about it too. So that's a pretty big expense on a building like that. So, any other questions?
How about the arrowhead? Tell them about the arrowhead.
Oh yeah. So our mason, who I have talked highly about, he was in there with his son, or his son was in one of the two bottom spaces that's being worked on right now. And he pulled some bricks out to clean them off, put them back in, etc., redo the mortar. And as he took one out, he noticed something was sticking out of one of the bricks. And when he kind of broke the brick in half, there was an arrowhead. Clear as, I should have put that on here. Clear as day. So I have that at my house in my office. I'm hoping my kids don't take it and try to hurt each other with it. But we've just really neat historical things like that where somebody must have been making bricks, grabbing a handful of mud or whatever, shoving it into the kiln or whatnot, and just didn't even realize what was in it, right? Some pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So we're hoping as we go through more and more of these floors and doing that kind of stuff that we see more of that, right? That's pretty neat. So the last project, the same guy that owns the fire station with me also owns this building with me. So again, there's just a lot of rich history here. We want to, again, like Chris Miller said, bring a ton of people to downtown. We want to make this place thrive like it used to, right? On that corner. There's a lot going on with the markets on Thursdays, the Christmas tree lighting, the parades, all those kinds of things, and people are spread out. And we want to kind of provide this new, or renewed rather, environment where everybody feels comfortable going to and collaborating and hanging out with each other, etc., more often than we do today. And the growth is coming, so we want to be attractive to people too that aren't from here and bring them downtown to teach them about the rich history of this place. And so that's kind of just the symbolic nature of this picture and the picture up on the top right hand corner, and just like our goal for this space. And then we also plan to preserve the history of Kaiser Bartow implements and the Bull Durham sign and those kinds of things in our future plans to that space. As well. So we haven't yet gotten very deep on that project. We still have some tenants in that space that are going to be out of there by October 1st. So if you need something, go buy some stuff, please. But they'll tentatively be out of there by October 1st. We'll be going to the Design Review Board meeting in September with our first round of plans for this space too. And so I'm really excited about what that future looks like. So I don't want to get too crazy into the weeds on that, and I'm about to show you a picture. Don't freak out. I promise you it's not what we're going to submit to the DRB. It's something that somebody drew up almost 12 months ago to just kind of generate something for me to go pitch to Moeller Brew Barn, who's coming in, without thinking about the history on their part. I've obviously quickly shut that down from this design perspective. But they got creative for me, and so again, this isn't going to happen, so don't freak out. I promise you it's not happening. I've nipped that in the bud. But it was more, again, just to generate like the idea, whatever that idea looks like. And then you'll see here on the corner turret, right under the clock, our idea is to put the Howland Hardware type sign back up on the face of that in a vertical manner with Moeller Brew Barn. Have it lit right on the corner so you can see it coming from all directions and things like that. But seriously, don't For the love of God, please do not settle on that. It's not. But over here on the left, though, you'll see, this, which is right here on this corner, right? This will be the main eating space. The kitchen will be back here, where the garage is today. The brewing equipment will be where Everence Financial Services is today. That portion of the building has been modified several times in its life, so we don't have really too much issue with modifying that and putting brewing equipment in there and putting some cool glass and things for people to be able to see and stuff as well. So the idea is to make it so that people can see what's happening, right? See what's going on, enjoy the environment. All of the built-ins that are down this portion of the building are staying, right? We're not taking out those core pieces of the history at all, and in fact, I would argue we're taking it even better back to its original state where the mezzanine is today. That's not original to that building and things like that. So we're trying to, again, resurrect some of those aspects, keep the floors, keep the ceilings, that kind of stuff, and in fact, open up the second floor again because it's chopped up into suites. And if anybody was up there when Perry owned the place, it didn't have suites, it was a wide open space. All the original hardwood floors are up there as well, so we're going to try to utilize that effectively for the restaurant and overflow and events and those kinds of things as well. So really looking forward to this. And then right here on this corner, you'll also notice that there's still a retail space there, and so that is where Rocky Mountain Coffee Company is going to go. So they have the trailer today that parks in front of the old 42, I forget what it's called over there, Bargain 42, I think. And then this is going to be a drive-through. So right today, this is not an alley. It's a one-way, and it's actually the driveway for the property. It's actually not a public roadway, so people go down there all the time. It's probably unsafe. We're going to mark that better, and that's going to be the exit for the drive-through for Rocky Mountain Coffee Co. onto Main Street. So pretty pumped up about that space because the girls that own that are amazing, and they've got a great following, and I think Rocky Mountain Coffee Co. with the Moeller Brew Barn and mixing in the history of Plain City into that space fits really well with the pieces of that puzzle. So if you like coffee, go hit these girls up about 6 to 9 months from now and support them in that space as well. So that's it for all three of the current projects. I mean, obviously we have other future state ideas too. We probably need to get through some of these and actually like recoup some funds because it's pretty depleting. I think my wife is scared to death right now. But we're really excited about these and appreciate the opportunity to share some of what we're doing and those kinds of things. Did you have any questions about this space? Good. That's a good question. So the village owns the clock. We do not own the clock. It just sits on our property. Historically, there has not been an easement for that property to take care of the clock on the village's behalf. I've been working with them already with Jody and Haley Lupton and Taylor Brill and Paul Michael Lafayette to actually draw up an official contract that gives them access to the building during the days so that they can go take care of that thing. Because the last thing I want to do is take care of a clock or incur the expenses of taking care of that clock, even though it's been redone somewhat recently. So they own it. We're going to give them official in-writing access to it and easement access to it so they can take care of it. Somebody posted online I was probably going to take it off the building, and I'm not a big Facebook guy, to be honest, so if you tag me in something there's a really good chance I'm not responding. But that was hilarious a couple months ago. So, any other questions about this particular building and what we're trying to do?
About a year ago, my wife was shopping below the clock in there, and I went in with her, and I said to the one lady, I'd like to go up and see the clock.
Yeah.
And when I went up there, I said, what are all these stacks of pennies doing here?
Oh, yeah.
And the lady said, well, a roller guy comes, he checks the clock, if it's fast or slow, he knows how to position the pennies on the balance arm to straighten it out.
Really?
And I thought that was kind of neat. Yeah, go up there and look at it, you'll see a stack of pennies there. And they're old pennies, they're those old wheat pennies, they're not...
I have to pull up some pictures, I have pictures of that.
But don't move them.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna get a bill from the guy.
Start spinning on you.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I've been up there so many times, I've not seen the pennies.
Yeah,
That's funny though.
that's how they regulate it.
Yeah.
The temperature
And
changes the length.
Yeah, and it's
Oh, does
been
it?
that way for years.
That's wild.
Because I can remember reading articles about the clock and about the pennies.
Yeah.
So evidently it works.
That's wild.
That was weird. The lady said an older fella would go up and move the pennies around.
Yeah.
You know who that was?
I know at one time Bob Merkel did it, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Merkel's the last one I know that did it. He took care of it for,
Tammy's husband winds it and does some things to it now, so it's probably him.
That's
He's been
probably-
doing it even though we own the building. We said, hey,
yeah, he probably took over when Bob Merkel stopped. Bob used to work at the hardware, and
yeah.
he took care of that for quite a few years. Rayce,
Yeah. Well, I think she had another question.
Just one
Oh, go ahead.
question, am I the only one who doesn't know what that brewing company is?
Yeah, well, let me give you a little bit of history about Moeller Brew Barn, actually. So Moeller Brew Barn is a private brewery that started in Marie Stein, Ohio. So if does anybody know where Marie Stein is at all?
Yeah, I did.
It's like Western Ohio, God's country. Like they love to have a good time, and they've got good agricultural roots to their communities. It's where like Minster, Coldwater, Fort Laramie, right? St. Henry, Versailles, all of these small German Catholic communities that love their community and take care of their community. And when you drive through, everything's so well kept and beautiful. But they're from there. They opened up a second brewery in Troy, Ohio, which is just at the 70-75 crossroads, just north of there. Actually, my dad's side of the family's from Troy, so I've got some ties there as well. But they resurrected an old church there and turned it into the Moeller Brew Barn Church, which is pretty cool as well. They just did a big project down by the Dayton Dragons Stadium, and now they're coming here. So it was the right fit. Frankly, I was looking at multiple different options for the brewery, but at the end of the day, I think when you marry our agricultural history and the roots of Plain City with their concept, their style, them as people, it fits really well with who we are, and trying to keep some of that here, even though we have all this new growth coming and things like that. So I couldn't be more excited about Moeller Brew Barn coming to town, and not, some other big brewery that's got locations all over the country. It's pretty exciting. So, but anyways, go ahead.
thanks for coming over, Rayce. Thank you. I am certain you've answered a lot of questions that a lot of us had. And I want to thank you for everything you're doing for and to Plain City.
Yes.
And of course, we're here to help you for any historical information you might need that we might have.
Just don't curse me online. And if you do, there's probably a really good chance I don't even see it, because I'm not that guy. So, anyways.
In case anyone is interested, these are the minutes from the Pleasant Valley Town Council. The first one is May 21st, 1853. And I've been trying to do some transcribing, and it's something of a challenge. They go through, let's see, the last one is 1868. So if you want to take a look, they're in this box up here.
Chris, did you want to say anything about this flyer you gave me?
Just